Hey everybody. So we have a cooking class today. It's a simple one, and it's a good one. I know I've been working a lot with eggs, but I figure we can just run the gamut so long as we're, sheltered in place. So I'm gonna teach you how to do it's kind of a very simple English breakfast. Me mums from England, or my mumsy, which, my mom loves when the Yanks like to say mumsy, but since my mom's half British, I'm half British, and so I get to say it, I figure, at least half the time. But what we're gonna do today is learn how to make a soft-boiled egg. These are my favorite eggs to make, just because the yolk's still running, and I don't know, it's just delicious. Just a little bit of salt and pepper with that, and a little bit of bread, and it's wonderful. But my mom did teach me how to make this when I was a kid. I have to relook up the recipe, but she showed me how when I was a kid. And so I'm going to go through the process with you. And, let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. But I do have, again, mise en place, everything in its place. I've got my egg. I've got my plate here. I've got my bowl here. This is going to be for an ice bath, which I'll talk about later on. I've got my piece of bread, and of course, I've got my pot. Now, typically, when I do this, I would like to and my egg holder. This is important. Typically, this is a little bit of a waste of water, which I don't like to do, only because usually I make at least 3 to 4 soft-boiled eggs, or that way I can give, 2 to Melanie, I'll have 2, or if I make 3, then usually it's me having 2 and she'll have 1. Depending on the situation. And so, but today, since we're just doing for me, I'm just going to do 1, and we'll try to make a perfect one. And I only had 1 egg left anyway, so, it works out. Alright, so here we go. So, I need to put water in here first. So, I'm going to fill this up with water. And the egg needs to be completely submerged. So you want about maybe an inch of water over it. Over the top of the egg. A lot of times you can leave it in there, but for this one, it's different than a hard-boiled egg. Hard-boiled eggs, you would actually put the eggs in right now and then heat it up. What we're going to do is put the water on and then bring this to a boil. And so that's the difference. A hard-boiled egg, what you would do is you would put the eggs in at the bottom. And I'm just going over this. I can show this to you as well. But while the water is still cold. Now, that's a difference in cooking because that actually makes it cook through as the water heats up. This, we're just going to kind of blast the egg in the hot water. And then what we want to do is make sure that we have everything else. Like I said, what we're going to do is as we're going to get this boiling, we're going to want to make sure that we have everything else that we need. And so, like I said, we're going to need an ice bowl. And what this does, and we'll want ice. Actually, I didn't check. Let me check. Give me 1 second. Make sure I do have ice. Luckily, yes, I do have a little bit of ice. I need to refill my ice tray. That could have been disastrous. So again, you want ice, and then you're just going to put some ice in here, fill it with some water, but we don't want to take it out now because it'll start to melt. And then what happens is after the egg is cooked, you don't want it to keep cooking. So what the ice bath does is you take this egg that's been in boiling water for about 6 minutes, and it's going to continue to cook inside the shell. Well, we want to stop that process because we don't want it to overcook, because what will happen is the yolk, instead of it coming out nice and creamy, which is what we want, nice and yolky, then what it'll do is start to turn into more of a hard-boiled egg because it'll cook through. But then as long as you place it right in an ice bath after it's done, which I did forget one thing for my mise en place, but as long as you put it in there, it shocks it is what it's called, and it stops that cooking process. So it'll still be hot on the inside, but it'll stop the process of cooking. It'll help freeze it, kind of stop the process. But what's something that you need? I'm not going to be able to get this egg out of here with my hand. No, we need our personal protective equipment and utensils. So what I have is what we call a slotted spoon. And slotted just means this. See those holes right there? That means it's a slotted spoon. So what happens is when you pick the egg up into the spoon, there won't be water sitting in this reservoir here. All the water will just drain out of there, so you just get the egg, which is nice. Actually, and something else that I'll want is a paper towel, just because I'm going to want to dry my egg off once it's done with everything. Because what happens a lot of times is you get finished with everything, and you'll take the egg and it'll be wet, and you put it into the egg cup holder, and it'll fuse in there. And we don't want that. Alright, so now we've got everything. We've got our slotted spoon, we've got this ready for the ice bath, and we know what that means. It just means we're going to shock it. And then what I'm going to do is, right now we're close to a boil here, but we just want to get it to a rolling boil. You don't want it to boil over. And you can also use the slotted spoon actually to put the egg in, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to wait for a bit. I'm going to give this kind of a power boost. Turn it on high. That'll really get the water boiling. It's almost there. You can see the steam, I think. Yep. So now it's really getting there. It's pretty close. But we want to make sure that it's at a boil. At a nice rolling boil. And here's the thing is, you don't turn this down. Again, it's different than hard-boiled eggs. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to get this down to keep it at that boil. So I'm going to put this at about 7.5. Make sure it holds. There it is. It's holding. We're going to take our egg. We're going to set it in there because we don't want it to crack. So that's what's good about the slotted spoon. There we go. I'm going to put the lid on. We're going to set the timer here for 6 minutes. Exactly 6 minutes. So we're going to let that sit. Now what we need to do is get our ice in our bowl and get that ready, because 6 minutes will actually go by faster than you think. You can hear the egg rolling around in there. I'm going to crack some ice. Move my phone out of the way. Ice in this bowl here. Fill that bowl with water. Now we got ourselves our ice bath ready to go. You can see all the steam coming through here. It's nice and hot. Now what we can do is toast our toast. Like I said, you always want to be doing something. There's multiple steps, just make sure it's on toast. Just be always doing something so that you're ready to go as soon as everything else is ready to go. I might turn this down to 7. Like I said, things go really fast. So we'll have our toast ready. Got this ready. We got our slotted spoon ready to go. And then I just have this here so that I can actually slice the bread. So I'm going to find the good, this will work. This ought to cut right through the bread real quick. So so that I can have 2 halves of the bread on each side here. And that way I'll show you the second part of the class, by the way, is I'm going to show you how to cut into a soft-boiled egg. At least the way my mom showed me how to do it. Some people like to peel them and kind of cut them in half and then open them up. They're very difficult to peel though, especially when they're soft-boiled. I'm not that good at it, just because they're still so soft. It's not like a hard-boiled egg where you just peel it off and then everything's cut through. So this is a different method that my mom showed me that the British like to do. So we want to make sure that everything's still going. We're looking good here. Our bread is getting nice and toasty. I'm going to get ready to flip my bread, but you always want to be checking on it. For me, I always flip it because I don't want it to get, unevenly cooked on each side. So if you just flip it once halfway through, and it's about 6 minutes, so we're about 3 minutes here. So we got about 3 more minutes to go, and then, we'll be ready to go. Let's see, the bread is looking good. I think actually maybe I want to turn this up a little bit more. Make sure that this is, it's on toast. My toaster oven's a little weird. Sometimes it cooks perfectly, and it's done right on time. Other times, it's suddenly just, now I'm done. So I always have to check on it. I need to get a new toaster oven, that's usually what that means. Alright, so I'm going to check on my toast. Yep. Give it that flip. Be very careful when you put your hand in there, but with these, luckily the tray slides right out, and so you should be good to go. So we got about 2 minutes left on this. The toast is pretty much done. For this, I don't like a hard toast, I want it to be nice. You just want to be able to tear it off because you're just going to kind of dip it in, but I'll show you that for the second part. I think our toast looks good. Let's give it until about 1.5 minutes. That should give us perfect amount of time to get this off here. And I probably should have actually had this up on this burner here, because what that would have done is then I could just bring it over here to transfer this over a lot more easily. In fact, actually what we're going to do is switch these things around. So my toast is done, a little overdone. So it's still going to have that crunch, but I think it's still soft. Cut into that. And immediately clean my knife off. I like to keep a good knife. Again, kind of clean as we go. Clean it off, then give it a good dry. So we got about 45 seconds to go. Put the knife back up there. Alright, so we're looking good. So put my toast here. And scoot this over because I want my ice bath right next to it. Alright, so the countdown is on. We've got about 18 seconds left. Alright. Now we're going to turn this off. Take the lid off. Be very careful because everything's still hot. The good thing about this pot is, and now we're going to take it out with our slotted spoon and set it right into this ice bath. And we're just going to let that cool for a bit. This is not dirty because it's just had water in it. So I can just put this in the sink on my dish drain. Neither is my slotted spoon. Again, it's just been in hot water. If anything, it's just had a little bit of disinfectant. It's been disinfected. Now what I'm going to do is that's the first part of the class. I'm going to let this sit for a bit. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and show you how to cut it. Alright. Thank you. I'll see you in a bit.